I'm unstoppable. Forget your defense, nothing but an obstacle. Run it back, switch it up, call it audible. Serving up them Hail Marys till the game over with. The showstopper so hot, you gotta blow on it. I said I'll huff and I'll puff, then I'll pass to my left while I'm looking to my right. Hit him right in the chest. It be looking like magic, better give me the throne. I ain't talking about Patrick, but I rep my home. I'm never at the end of my zone. I'm bad to the bone, eating up these pig skins like they chicharrones. And you a douche cabron. Mira, mira at the mirror on the wall. I'm the greatest of them all. They gon' put me in the hall. Your name is only written in a bathroom stall. Quit your stalling and make a play. My drive too long, pop the clutch, I don't pump the brakes. I know what it takes to gain the muscle, get rugged. These butterfingers be fumbling, squash the scrimmage and rub it in Robitussin. How I give them concussion, they see in double, they rushing and pass the shovel, the dirt and rubble, I bury them under it. Stay in your huddle and get 10 yards back, never turn your back. I'ma pull your flag, I go full contact, out punch, out kick like a shotgun blast on 1 out snap. It's a fact that I'm unstoppable. Forget your defense, nothing but an obstacle. Run it back, switch it up, calling audible. Serving up them Hail Marys till the...
What up, what up, what up? It is the Horseshoe Mob Podcast. Half of us only here tonight because the other half couldn't make it, but we know that there's lots to talk about, so we had to continue on. This is the Horseshoe Mob Podcast. My name is Harish. I will be your host tonight. And Austin will be joining me tonight. Austin, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing good. Not thinking about the Colts. Season's over, so I'm good.
Awesome. What is one word you're feeling right now?
Disappointed.
Okay. No, I think that's fair. I think if I were to describe one word, it's confusion. I think I am confused with the state of this franchise right now, and where we are, where we're going, what we did this year. I think I don't know if this was a leak or not, but somebody said that oh, do you know Mike Mitchell? Do you remember Mike Mitchell? He was in like a safety for us, right?
Yeah, a while back. I think he was also a DB coach for us.
Could be. He's been going off on Twitter. I actually followed him. He's really a good follow. But he mentioned that there's no vision inside that locker room. Like there's no vision in the organization, right? Kind of talks about like what I've said over the course of this year is there's when it comes down to like the field level, there's 22 guys that are playing. It's not a team. There's just 22 guys that were put together to play on the field, and that shows in the on-field play, the coaching, the GM, leadership. It's very telling where this organization is right now. But anyway, we'll get to all that, a lot more. Hope you guys are doing well. Thanks for joining us in the chat tonight. Our normal Sean. What's up, Sean? How you doing? Sarah, how are you? How are you doing? Adam J, thank you for joining us again. Kind of, joining us again while the Colts kind of clean house. Yeah, Sarah says, I wish we did a full house clean. That's what this franchise needs, which is another reason why I'm confused. I don't know what they're doing. Like we kind of talked about it last week from the top all the way down. Should have cleaned house. Good luck to your Longhorns Friday, Harish. Yeah, that'll be very interesting. Hopefully, we can produce a better pass rush than Austin's Tennessee Volunteers.
Yeah,
if we can, I think we'll be just fine. Actually, I actually think there's a lot of recency bias with Ohio State. What they've done the last 2 games is not who they are. And so I think that game's going to be a lot closer than people think. If you want to know what my prediction will be, find out Thursday night with my boy Tim Wayne on the Longhorn Fan Battle podcast. We will preview Ohio State, probably the biggest matchup, the biggest game in the Steve Sarkisian era. And again, another opportunity for Texas to take an early leap because I don't think many of us had them winning the national championship game. Getting here was probably the goal for this team, for me anyway, was to get back. And you do it, create some consistency, which I think they've done. So we'll see. Join us Thursday to figure out where we are. All right, let's get started. Before we do, as always, fanbattlesports.com, where you can get the latest and greatest from the AFC South, including the Colts, Texans, Titans, and Jaguars, who will all be out of the postseason after this week. Fanbattlesports.com. If you're interested in starting your own show, hit us up with the contact us link. Let us know. Get all your information. We will set you all up. We also do news articles, previous episodes. We've got a whole bunch of stuff coming. Fanbattlesports.com. All right, Austin. It's me and you. It's you and me. Let's get started. The name of the episode, of course, is Colts Clean House, kinda. I think we just start here. I think, we'll talk a little bit about the game on Sunday. It's just another game that we played where we Jonathan Taylor goes off against the Jaguars, and he finishes the season off with 1,400 yards, and make of that what you will. But then, the post game comes and you see Jim Irsay rolling off. Hopefully he's doing well, and you wish him the best. But the first bit of news, and I know this is where we'll start, but the first bit of news that comes out is Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen are retained. Probably less than 4 hours after the game, right? So what are your initial thoughts? First off, your reaction to what happened, and then second off, what are your thoughts based on that news?
Yeah, I mean, whenever I saw Jim Irsay tweeted a letter to the fans and then saw he believes in Chris Ballard, like nobody else believes in Chris Ballard anymore but him, I think.
Yeah.
And it like you said, it's confusing. It doesn't make sense. We haven't won the AFC South, which has been terrible for the most part in 10 years.
Yep.
I don't remember the last time we won it actually, but at least 10 years. And he's just continuing to bring the same guy back that said if how he does things doesn't work and it gets him fired, then so be it. So he's probably not going to change the way he's done things. And it just doesn't make sense coming from a guy who told us 2-3 years ago that he's going to produce at least 2 Super Bowls in this decade. The decade's about half over. So we got a lot of work to do to get those 2 Super Bowls.
That's crazy. The specific words that he put out a statement, right? Obviously, which is fair enough. He says, I've been evaluating our entire operation. I believe in Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen and our collective ability to make the improvements needed to take us to the next level in 2025. That was the exact statement. What is the next level for this team? Like, based on where they are right now, what is that next level for you?
I'd say winning the division.
What would making the playoffs, like, let's just say they get second in the division again, would making the playoffs make you happy? And would you count those two one in the same?
I would say making the playoffs would be good. Like I wish we made the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
But like I wouldn't put it on the same level as winning the division because we have made the playoffs, which the last time we made the playoffs was 2020 with Phillip Rivers. So like we have done it. It's been a few years now. So I just personally wouldn't put it on the same level as winning the division because it's been so long since we have.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would be happier than I am now if we made the playoffs.
Fair enough. No, I would agree with that. I think that next level is, winning the division. I think for me, it's make the playoffs. Do something that is more than 9-8, right? Give me a 10-7 and make the playoffs. Give me 1 second. All right, thought I had to do something and that is more than 8-9, 9-8, because that's what Chris Ballard has turned into the Marvin Lewis of GMs. And for those of you guys, you should, our generation knows very well who Marvin Lewis is. He was the Cincinnati Bengals head coach for 15, 16, 17 years. And all they did
time.
was go 8-8.
Yeah, kind of like Jeff
Right?
Fisher too, like with
Oh
the
yeah, Jeff
Titans.
Fisher is also synonymous for that. Yeah, no, for sure. So yeah, I mean, you've got to do something different, right? You have to do something different, and we'll talk about one of those changes that are being made here in a second. But I think this gives that role leverage, and we'll talk about that. There's leverage in that role now that probably hadn't existed in the past. Um, and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. But yeah, I think that next step is start to create some sort of positive act, change your culture and make it seem like that's really the next step is change your culture, because losing has become the culture for this organization, and that can't be acceptable. Um, We'll get a couple comments here. Sarah says, of course, Penn State, Notre Dame Thursday. Very excited for that game as well. I guess that is Thursday. We might have to think about Longhorn fan battle then. Teresa logged in as Ricky Johnson says, we're not on Facebook. We should be on Facebook. I do see that our Facebook stream is live. I don't know what happened. Maybe there's something that went on with the credentials. We'll take a look at that though. Sarah, yes, we will talk about this here in a second. Glad Gus is gone though. Finally, right? This goes to something you talked about last week, is this organization's inability to pivot is something that has hurt them, and this is one role in which that is the case. Mr. Fulton Miraz it's his birthday, so happy birthday to Mr. Fulton. It's his quarter birthday. I missed my quarter birthday. That was a yeah, my quarter birthday was a lot of fun. That was 10 years ago for me. That was a long time ago. And I don't know what I did, but it was fun. Dowder is trash. I'm done with him. Yep, I think we all feel the same. Of course, happy birthday, Mr. Fulton. And at least Zaire came out and said something today. What do you think? Did you see these comments by Zaire Franklin?
I did see the statement he put out.
What do you think?
So I'm glad he said something. Like, it's better than him just being silent, because he was getting a lot of hate from a lot of fans and media and just everyone saying, he's being childish, being petty, which we knew that's kind of who he is. Like, he seems like a petty guy. So I'm glad he said something. It doesn't fully, change things. Hopefully he continues to grow and changes and actually becomes a leader in the locker room. But like, I'm glad he said something.
I think this is actually lack of accountability to me. The fact he waited this long. There's two things. Number one, you're a leader on this team. You are held to a much higher standard than everyone else, right? So you did all this beefing stuff with some guy in the media. Let's just call a spade a spade. It doesn't matter who Pat McAfee is. He's essentially a guy in the media, and you let him get to you. It affected your play. You have this podcast that podcasts should be banned from this locker room during the season. Like in the off season, whatever, you have fun, you do what you do. There's a level of focus that does not exist within this organization right now, and I think that lacks accountability. What I will say is I'm glad that he recognizes that he made a mistake, and he recognizes, and hopefully this is a turning point or a learning point for him, because really at this point, that's all you can hope for. Like, and it's interesting because as soon as I asked about it, my Twitter timeline refreshed, and the first thing is him posting about him winning the tackling award. I was like, well, awesome, you won the tackling award. That's great. He gives me such a me over team vibe, and I don't like it. And that's just what I get from him. Like, for a guy that's supposed to be the leader of this team, I just don't like the vibe that he carries off. And it rubs me the wrong way. So, hey, we'll see what happens. It is an interesting. You are now. Yeah, I don't know what happened, Teresa, but I thanks for joining in. I'm glad it's working. And Happy New Year's to you as well. Obviously, the biggest news of the week is Gus Bradley finally, after way too many years of being on this, existent with this organization, uh, Gus Bradley parts ways. Um, and we'll kind of talk about two things. Like number one, what are your thoughts? And then number two, do you have any candidates that you are hoping that we go after because we won't go after those candidates?
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, he's another guy that we all wanted gone. Wish him the best. He seems like a good guy, but his his defense is just outdated, and it's been that way since he got here.
Yeah,
And he refused to make changes. You know, third and long, we play past the first downs and give them easy first downs every game.
yeah,
So obviously, glad he's gone. Hopefully, we fill that role with somebody who does better for us.
yeah.
Um, Obviously, Robert Saleh is a guy that a lot of people bring up because he is available. Um, a guy that I don't know if he'd make a lateral move, especially to come to the Colts, but I really like Brian Flores. I would have liked
Ooh, I
him
like
as a
that.
head coach too.
Yeah,
So if we somehow made that move, I would like that a lot.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I
there was
think
one
Brian
more guy I
Flores
had
is
in my.
interesting.
There
Do
was
you think they
one
would
more guy I
change?
had, but I don't know. What did you say?
Do you think they would change the scheme, or is it too late for that?
I mean, if if we got somebody in early enough, I feel like we could change the scheme.
Yeah.
Especially like we need a lot of change in the locker room anyways. So maybe a new defensive coordinator would change the scheme.
Are there any like players you would keep? Let's just say you go to a 3-4 or even like a 3-3-5 defense, which you don't see a lot of 3-3-5 in the NFL. You probably see 3-3-5 sets. You don't really see a lot of 3-3-5 schemes. Is there like any players in the locker room you would keep if you were to make a transition to a 3-4 defense?
Um, I mean, there's obvious ones like you don't want to lose a guy like DeForest Button or Grover
That would be
Stewart.
the main ones, or Stewart, right?
Um, I mean, at this point, I don't really care who they keep or don't keep.
Okay.
Uh, because I mean, like I said, there's just a lot of change that needs to happen. Our whole culture, like you said, is screwed up. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. As I go back and as I think about like who is out there. First off, thank you. Finally, Gus Bradley's gone. I don't think Gus Bradley was the main issue, but again, the coaching has to have accountability if the play on the field is not there. Yes, players miss tackles. Yes, but at the end of the day, in this regime, what we've known is that the coach is the first scapegoat. So that's already done, right? Congratulations, Gus Bradley. You are the scapegoat of 2024, 2025. You get to wear that title this year. You are this year's scapegoat. Now, secondly, I agree that there's a lot of players that just need to go on this defense. I wouldn't be opposed to trading the podcasters. I wouldn't be opposed to making some changes in the secondary and going and being a little bit more aggressive on the defense. Um, I like Jim Leonard. I know that's a name that's been mentioned a lot. I didn't even think about Jim Leonard. You think about like a 4-3 scheme and guys that a guy that's very very aggressive in his play calling and defensive schemes. I think Jim Leonard would be awesome coming from Denver. Obviously, Robert Sala comes to mind because I loved Robert Sala as a DC. Robert Sala is one of those guys that's like he didn't work out as a head coach because not everybody works out as a head coach. Like that's okay. That's not a bad thing. But Robert Saleh is a hell of a defensive coach, and if you can put him back in a position where he can just focus on building a defense, I think it would be great. I think the problem with Robert Saleh is you have to be willing to allow Robert Saleh to come in and evaluate this roster, and you have to be okay to make changes because he's not. I don't think he's going to come to a situation where Chris is like, yeah. this is the roster you got. You're just gonna have to do the best you can. I think whoever the DC is in this scenario has a lot of leverage. In that they can say, okay, hey, I'll come here, but I get to have, I don't know, 60% say in the defensive roster because you guys, if you screw this up, you're done. And I know that, right? And obviously you don't say it like that, but that's just realistically where the GM and the head coach are right now. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you have to hope that's what happens. Like whoever comes in is going to have say on who they have on their defense.
Yeah.
Because like truly, Chris Ballard did Gus Bradley wrong. He
Yes,
didn't put
he did.
pieces. He didn't give him the guys that he needed to run good defense. But also, like I said, his scheme was just outdated.
Yep, fair enough. I think it's definitely on the both of them, and when it's on the both of them, that means it's on you because you're lower on the totem pole. So, yeah, I think that'll be interesting. Robert Sala's interesting. Jim Leonard's interesting. Um, whoever runs, let's see, who's that other defense I really like? I actually kind of like the Chicago Bears scheme. I just don't like the coaches. So that's an interesting system out there. Any kind of like aggressive blitzing defense that you could bring in with an aggressive edge rush, I think is what you need. Because I actually think our defensive line's not bad. I actually think they have a lot of what the thing that puzzled me the most about our defensive line was specifically the fact that Latu played in coverage so much. Like that blew my mind. Like why did we draft this guy in the first round
And
to go play coverage?
also, Bradley kinda limited him in his snaps. I
Yeah,
feel like if he was out there more rushing the quarterback, he would have had a few more sacks than he had and a few more
for
pressures
sure.
too.
Yeah, no, I
But he
agree
was
with
like off the field
yeah.
more than he was
I
on
don't
it, it
know.
seemed
I
like.
don't think he had a lot of opportunity, and maybe the wrong guys are being held accountable. Maybe the coaching staff doesn't know what accountability means, because it was definitely not being had in the right places. But um, yeah, it looks like let's see. What do you think about this? The true leaders of this team are Defo, JT, Kenny, Big Q, and Michael Pittman Jr. Would you consider Michael Pittman Jr. a leader of this team? I know you really like the guy, but like, you think about like a leader. Would you really think Michael Pittman Jr. is a leader of this team?
I feel like he can be and he has been, but he's
Moments,
not consistently a leader on the team. Like I feel like he's to himself a lot, which a
yeah.
leader needs to be outspoken more.
I
So
think
like
his
I feel like he
personality
can
shows
be.
that too.
Yeah.
Like moving out into the boonies, being in the farm. Not saying that's like the end all be all of what your mentality is, but it's like from an outsider's perspective, it's like yeah, he wants to go live out on the farm, kind of be out on his own. Like that doesn't change. This just perception is reality when you're in leadership, and I work in leadership for a living, so it's like perception is reality, right? So I think that's fair. I would not consider Michael Pittman Jr. a leader. Number one is his his on field play is not consistent enough for me, right? Number two, he says vocalization or whatever method you use to be a leader is not consistent enough for me. Um, but Defo, 100% leader of this team. Big Q, 100% leader of this team. Kenny Moore, yeah, 100%. Talk about a guy that struggled and then turned it around and started like playing well again. Kenny Moore is definitely a leader on this team. I would. JT's interesting. I don't know if JT is a leader on this team. It's hard to say.
Yeah, he's definitely like you could argue one of like the best player on the team, especially
Yeah.
offensively for sure.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
but yeah, I mean, vocally leadership, I don't know that he is that guy.
Yeah. That's an interesting one. JT, I would think even less than MPJ. Like MPJ has moments. I don't know if JT even has moments of leadership on this team. I think he's a follower more than a leader, which is fine. I think that's okay. You need followers. And you need really high performers to be really good followers as well, because you have to have those type of people that buy into the culture, which I don't know if anybody's bought into this culture, but that's a different story. Yes, Teresa says bye, as in bye to not bye to us, we're still here, but bye to bye to Gus Bradley. Jim Leonard would be good. I agree. I think Jim Leonard's a very interesting choice. Oh, what about the Raiders coach that got fired today? What do you think
Yeah,
about
that's
him?
what I was thinking.
Antonio
Pierce.
Pierce.
Yeah, Pierce. I think he'd be a good option to look at. He's another guy kind of like Saleh, good defensive coordinator, not so great coach.
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like that'd be a good hire if we ended up with him too.
Okay. Yeah, I would not be upset at him, right? Again, he's you gotta maybe he says, hey, I want Max Crosby, Chris. You're about to get fired. Go trade for that guy. Maybe he does that. And you have Max Crosby and Latu. There you go. The defensive line, the edge rushers are fixed. That's simple. I wish it was. Ballard and Reich has twin contracts through 2026. If fired Reich, why is Irsay so set on keeping him? I think Irsay. Honestly, Teresa, I think Irsay knows once he fires Chris Ballard what that means for him. And I've said this a multitude of times, and Austin, feel free to chime in here. I think once Chris Ballard is either gone or fired or whatever Chris Ballard does, Jim Irsay will then realize that it is his turn to give up this team.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's time for both of them to go, honestly. Like I said before we started, I feel like Irsay would do better if he just focused on himself and his health and just give up the football operations to his daughters.
I agree.
But he's wanting to keep it going, so here we are.
Yeah, I think it's more resemblant of that, kind of like you said, like focused on him, his focus on himself in the wrong ways, which is projecting towards the organization and their lack of. Listen, we could wake up tomorrow and things change. It is very possible that when they could wake up tomorrow and like Jim's like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore, and then whoever comes in, the daughters, you would imagine say, yeah, cool. Neither is Chris Ballard. Let's move on. Like it's very possible. I guess maybe we'll just hold on to that hope. But yeah, I think that's why Irsay's set on keeping him, because he understands what that means for him. The guys that keep on defense are more Jalen Jones and Carly's, Stewart, Latu, Defo, Grover. Sure. I don't have a problem with that. I wouldn't. I'd keep Stewart because of his special teams ability more than his defensive ability. I like Jalen Jones. I'm a big Jalen Jones fan. I think he took his step this year. And I think he can continue to grow as like a third corner, like a depth corner, but I don't think he's I really think Jalen Jones, or sorry, I don't know if Jalen Jones is like a starting level, but he is a very good depth piece. Saleh, of course, we've said that. We need a DC. We need a hands-on DC, one that gets mad like Peyton when he got sacked. Well, that's a little bit different because Peyton's a player that got mad. We need a DC that just holds guys accountable, doesn't let guys go on podcasts and say stupid shit. Like that's what we need. We need somebody on that staff to hold somebody accountable. I think that's what we need. Linebackers are the heart of the problem with this. Do you agree with this?
I think they have been a big problem. You could argue part of the problem.
I like this comment. I think I would agree that the linebackers are probably 70% of the issue. Their lack of leadership, their lack of ability to communicate on the field, just lapses. Like, you remember on Sunday there was this. Was it? I don't know if Titans got a touchdown. Not a Titan. The Jags got a touchdown, but EJ's speed maybe was kind of like in coverage and just kind of like in La La Land.
When he was guarding BTJ.
Yeah. And the BTJ gets like a first down or that's the one where
it should have been a touchdown.
Yeah. He almost got and I'm just like, wait, what are we doing? Like like those are the things that this deep. Yes, I think the linebackers are a huge problem. again, I would not be opposed to trading these linebackers. You need to find a way to get off of one of those contracts because they're terrible.
EJ Speed is a free agent this year.
Oh,
so.
good. Stay free, my guy. Stay free. And then you
But
need to get off that Zaire contract.
we re-signed Zaire, I think, last offseason.
I think that's right, and it was a terrible contract to give him. It was the make it get us excited about nothing Chris Ballard contract that he got. The sympathy contract is what I like to call it. Pittman played through injuries. Listen, I'll give him all the credit in the world. Hey, kudos. But I've also said if your back is hurt, don't play through back injuries. Like you can't hurt your back. Like that is one of the rare scenarios where I'm like, stop picking this team over yourself. Back injuries.
We learned through Leonard back injuries are no joke.
He doesn't play. Leonard since that back injury hasn't really played again. It basically ended his career. So I think that is the I think that's actually like a version of selfishness versus leadership, right? Where it's like, I'm going to do the best thing for the team because I know the team needs me to be healthy. And if you come out and say, dude, this guy has a back issue or he's got back spasms or whatever, right? I would have respected it. I was like, dang, well, that explains a lot, right? It explains why he's walking on routes or whatever he was doing. And that's another thing. Like, if you're going to go out there, you're going to be expected to give 100%. That's the reason why you're out there. So, I would disagree. I would disagree that playing through injuries makes you a leader. I think if AR doesn't turn a new leaf this upcoming season, I was talking about a chat in this. What does a successful season for AR in your eyes look like next year? Like we're sitting here 365 days from today. What are we talking about when we say AR had season or a bad season?
I think you just have to get more consistent. Obviously healthy. If he's not healthy again, that you can't keep trotting the same guy out there if he can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
So healthy, consistent, less turnovers, winning ball games.
Yeah. If you were to put a stat line behind it, what would you say?
We'll say like I'm trying to think of like a good stat line, but not like impossible to reach.
Yeah.
Like maybe 3,500 yards, 25 touchdowns, like 12 interceptions.
Yeah, let's just say he gets 10 rushing touchdowns, right? Because you tush push or he has his QB out. So 35 total. I think that's very reasonable. 2,500 yards and 30 touchdowns, let's just say, right? 30 total touchdowns. I think that's a successful season. Here's one thing I will say about AR, especially since he came back from getting benched. He does impact winning.
Yeah, I agree.
But what he doesn't do is he doesn't consistently, he doesn't impact winning throughout the game. He's impacted winning at times and points and moments in the games. And I think that consistency within a game will turn into some of these stats we're talking about, right? Like, 35 total touchdowns, less than 10, like less than 12 interceptions, right? Or like 9 interceptions. Maybe no less than 5, but like no more than 8, right? Just turnovers, right? Like you've got to be able to take care of the ball. You've got to improve some of that short range passing because that's what gets you those big. These guys to get 4,000 yards, they're not chucking the ball down the field 100 times a game. These guys are throwing 5-yard slants, 5-yard drag routes, and they're letting their receivers or running backs or whoever just run down the field. Like that's literally what they're doing. They're getting 5, 6, 7 yards per throw or per catch or whatever you want to use. So yeah, I think his short game needs to improve. But yeah, I would say like 35 touchdowns. Yes. Josh did take 25 off. What's up, sick? I believe Josh has been working a lot, and so we gave him the night off, and we are flying The duo tonight is what we're doing. I definitely agree that it doesn't make you a leader to play hurt. No, yeah, and we talked about listen, brave, awesome. Like to play through a back injury is very brave. That doesn't make you a leader. I'm sorry, it really doesn't. And depending on the injury, it's more of a detriment than it is a like a leadership quality. Okay, AR says he's got back problems. You suggest we sit him 100%. That's your franchise quarterback. Yeah, you like if he said he had back. Look, the AR injury situation is very frustrating, but you have to sit him. You have to. Like that's your franchise quarterback. You want to go Andrew Luck all over again? Say, sorry, man. I know you have back spasms. You got to go out there, bro. We need you. We can't throw for more than 10 yards without you. Like even 50% of the time we can't do it. So yeah, I know. I definitely don't. What I will say, would you call AR injury prone?
I mean, he's definitely trending towards that.
Yeah. It is very concerning that he's only played 11 out of a possible, was it 34 games? So basically, he has played less than 50% of the potential eligible games that he could have played in. That to me is like border, like maybe like 2 miles from the borderline, like injury prone.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He has to stay healthy next year, or
Oh.
like we can't just keep going back to him and like
Right.
putting our trust and faith in him staying healthy after
Yeah,
that.
I would agree. 3,000 yards, 55 to 60% completion percentage, 500 yards, and 25 total touchdowns. How many wins would this stat line get us? Let's just say the defense is mid. Not even like, because right now it's bottom of the league.
I could say 10 or 11.
I think so too. I think that gets you 10 or 11. Now you're taking pressure off of Jonathan Taylor too. Right?
Yeah,
Like
I mean that
if
gets you
he's
in the
getting
playoffs.
500 yards, yeah. If he's getting 500 rushing yards, that takes a lot of pressure off of Jonathan Taylor. I think this is like it might even depending on your schedule because it's a second place schedule. I don't know what that schedule looks like right now. I could 12 is maybe even possible. Like you could push some of those games, right? Because the Colts also lost a lot of one possession games this year. I think they were like 1-6 or something ridiculous like that. So, Sarah says 3,300 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions, 400 yards. Yeah, this is right in that wheelhouse. 30 touchdowns and about 10 or less interceptions. I would agree with this. Jackson Dart. I am a big fan of Jackson Dart, and I think he fits this system perfectly.
Jackson Dart makes me nervous, but like in the 4th or 5th round, I mean, I'm good with taking a flyer on him for sure.
I think you need a younger backup too. I don't think you need to go get an old geezer anymore. I think we're done with that experiment, the geezer experiment. I'm done with we have veteran. No. Go get a guy that's going to make AR push AR to compete. He doesn't need a mentor. He needs somebody that's going to push him and challenge him, and that clearly was not Joe Flacco. 6 says 10. Colts organization has a record of playing hurt players. Luck, Manning, Vinatieri, and more. They're known for it. Yes, and also the medical staff on this organization has been terrible for years, and it has never been fired. Another instance of lack of accountability in this organization. That whole medical staff should have been fired after Andrew Luck retired. Like I would have started from scratch there because that's where all this kind of maybe even after Manning was hurt. And then finally, AR is set to play all 17 games. If he's set, 60+% completion percentage, 3,200 yards passing, 700 yards rushing, 30 touchdowns and less than 10 picks. Yep, I think that's pretty fair. All right, we kind of went off on a tangent there, but let's got to talk about the game a little bit. The Colts defense led the league in missed tackles. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I'm not surprised just watching every single game. seeing all those missed tackles. It sucks.
Yeah,
That's why I'm hoping whoever we bring in at defensive coordinator will help us teach us the basics of tackling.
do something different. Um, yeah, I think the other piece of this is like you've got to teach a new technique. You've got to do something. You've got to do something different. So we'll see what happens with that. I don't have really too much to say about that. Chris Ballard gets another chance. We kind of touched on this. If there's one thing, Chris Ballard, so he has a 9 a.m. presser tomorrow. What are you hoping he says? And what do you think he's actually? I already know. What do you think he says?
I think he says the same thing he said the last 8 years. He'll take the blame. Uh, he should have done more, but he does whatever he does, and whatever he does, if it gets him fired, so be it. What I wish he would say is something different.
Yeah,
Tell us that he's going to go and make some changes, do something different than he's done the
yeah.
last 8 years that hasn't worked. Give us something to be hopeful for, because I think a lot of Colts fans are not hopeful at all.
Oh, Sarah says that the presser was postponed. He is under the weather, not feeling good apparently. Whoa, conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory. Whoa, is there a change of
So
heart for Jim Irsay?
we're gonna wake up and he's fired.
Was there a change of heart? Conspiracy theory. Yeah, Justin Fields would actually be really intriguing. I don't know if the Steelers give him up though, but he would be really intriguing. Um, Josh Downs most receptions by a wide receiver in first 2 seasons. This is probably Ballard's best pick since Darius Leonard. Like we're talking about like deep pick. Nobody thought anybody of him pick. I think it's Josh Downs. Like everybody knew who Jonathan Taylor was. Everybody knew Michael Pittman Jr. because he went to USC. Not a lot of players, not a lot of people knew. Like you and I knew about Josh Downs because we are those hyper fans, right? We know everything about everything. The hyper informed is what a podcast I know I've like to call it. But your casual Joes don't know who Josh Downs is, right? And if you look at that, this was probably the best pickup since Darius Leonard, Shaq Leonard, whatever they call him now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, 100%. He's been arguably our best wide receiver when he's been healthy. I mean, he seems like he's always open, and he has really good hands. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, I think he's going to be great for a long time.
yeah, and somebody forced Reggie Wayne forces this, right? As Sarah says, this was a Reggie Wayne pick. Reggie Wayne forced this pick on Ballard, and there needs to be a lot more of that because Chris Ballard's draft history over the last 5 years has been atrocious. And he needs to stop believing in his stupid raw scores. That's another thing he needs to change that he probably won't. Is those stupid raw scores. Was it the right move to retain Shane Steichen?
I said it last week. I was okay if Shane Steichen came back for another year, because I mean it was the second year.
Yeah.
You could argue he should have been fired, but I was okay with bringing him back for at least one more year. See what him and AR can do. So I think it was, it was fine.
Shane needs media training. So he needs some media training this year.
Yeah,
This
I agree.
Because I think that got him in trouble a lot. Like not necessarily what he was saying, but how he was saying it. Maybe like you can send him to like Nick Saban or somebody. And be like, hey man, teach this guy what to say to the media. Because golly, man, that was he got in front of those things and half the time he was just waffling. I didn't even know what he was saying. And then the other half of the time, like he would piss everybody off by what he was saying. Like it's just so he just needs, and he's fallen to me. I don't think it was the right move because I think he fell into that category of great OC, horrible head coach. I don't
Yeah, and
think
I think that's fair as well.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think he understands. Listen, there's a different skill set that's involved when you go from like any coordinator to a head coach role, right? Like all these head coaches that are unwilling to not call the plays, right? Your job is not to call the plays, dude. Your job is to be the head coach and manage this team and lead this organization and franchise. That is your job. Your job isn't to call the plays. And a lot of these coordinators that come into these like head coaching roles like realize like what they're doing isn't working, and the first thing that's always questioned is like, hey, should you be calling the plays anymore? It's like, oh no, I'm calling the plays, right? Like, no, dude, like that's not your job. Listen, fix the organization, get your team to a spot to where it's really good. Then you say, hey, I think we're in a great spot. I like where we are as an organization. I will now be taking over the play calling, right? I'll take those reins back. You should be hiring coordinators. I feel like coordinators are shoe fillers at this point. There's random people in most organizations that's like, yeah, we'll bring over. Hey, Bob, you want to be my offensive coordinator? Oh, cool. What do I get to do? You just get to stand there with the clipboard. You're essentially the offensive analyst, and these coaches that are unwilling to give that up, I'm sorry, you're a terrible head coach, and I think he's heading into that territory. He's got to be able to give up the play calling duties and focus on coaching this team because that's his job. Um, I like Shaiken. I don't think he's a good leader. Completely agree. Toby, quickly, we gave out a few names for DC. Salah, obviously, Robert Salah is probably top of both of our lists. Jim Leonard is a name we threw out. Antonio Pierce is another name we threw out. But we'll probably go get some nobody from some other team. We don't even know. We'll probably never. You probably, Toby, you probably never heard of him. I probably never heard of him. Or he coached some like great defense 55 years ago. That's probably what we'll end up with. And I think this is in relationship. Yeah, Josh Downs. Yeah, yes, Caleb Downs is the safety at Ohio State. Not looking forward to playing Caleb Downs. We'll see how that goes. And Caleb Downs is very good, by the way. He's a hybrid like safety linebacker type guy. They put him in the box. They put him out in safety. Man, imagine having that guy on our team. Woo wee! That you talk about defensive skill and talent that we lack right now. That's a guy that would boost our lack of talent. Like that's a difference maker on the defense. That's the type of like defensive player that Chris Ballard has not drafted ever. Probably never. I was watching CJ earlier and he pointed out Ballard tries down. Oh, he trades down for more picks and they lose 60% to go to another team. So that's not working. Trades. Well, that's not working is his RAS score analysis, whatever he calls, right? Like, yeah, this guy can run like a 2.540 and bench like 900 pounds, but the dude has no idea like what man coverage is, or he has no idea what a flat zone is, right? Like that's the problem with Chris Ballard's draft philosophy. I think that works great in late rounds, right? For like developmental talents on like the fifth, sixth, seventh round, I think raw score is awesome. But these like first, second, third round guys, really your first 2 days of picks, you've got to find the best players available, and to get them in positions of need is a bonus. It's kind of how I see that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree with what you said.
So hopefully he needs to do some better presser stacking. Yes, I think we talked about this. He definitely does need to do better, and some press training would help. And finally, straight up, should Indy trade Zaire? Would you trade Zaire?
um, See, this goes back to what I said earlier. If we did, I wouldn't be mad. If we don't, I won't be mad. I hope, like I said, I hope he grows and he realizes his mistakes that he made this year. Uh, Not even on the field and on the field.
Yeah.
Should we trade him? I don't know, but I just hope that he grows and gets better.
I think you trade him. I think you have to get off of his contract. I think his contract is the biggest thing for me. Is like that's contract is way too high, and for the production that you're getting, it's not worth it. And how old is he? Do you know?
I think he's 28.
He's too old. Like, he's in the prime of his career, and he missed like one of the most tackles on the team. I think like that's a lot that you're paying a 28-year-old. So he'll go into maybe probably go into next year 29. Um,
Something like that.
that's that's quite a lot. Um, but yeah, that's interesting to see what happens. The linebackers are the biggest problem in this defense. So somebody, yeah, he'll be 29 in July according to Sarah. That's pretty old. Needs to do okay. Sarah says, do you have anybody in mind? Just well pre-draft talk. Like, who's your number one guy that you hope the Colts get?
I really like the Warren dude from Penn State, the tight end. I do.
Yeah,
Like, if we got him at 14, I would be happy. Um, but yeah,
I think we need a safety, but I don't know. I didn't realize Xavier Watts was a second round guy. Um, I would be interested. You're kind of in that mid round, that mid tier. I'm not a fan of drafting tight ends in the first round,
I'm not either usually.
but he's a
But
freak.
he's very good, and that is a position of need. And
True.
just I don't know, our tight ends haven't done anything for us
Based
in
on
a
our
long time.
philosophy, that would actually pan out. Like if he's the best player available and it's a position in need, then you kind of fell into like what I just said. So yeah, I think Tyler Warren's interesting. That watching him like actually play in that Boise
Boise
State game,
State game,
I was
yeah,
very impressed. I will be very interested to see how he plays against Penn State, a much better defense this week. And if he impresses me this week, I might just say, you know what? Yeah, take him. Take him. Because that's a huge position in need. If we don't trade him, he needs to take a pay cut. Okay. Yeah, I would agree. He either needs to do that or restructure his contract. Let's get this last thing here and we'll finish out with the things. Alec Pierce leads the team in yards and touchdowns. What a season from him. His third year in the league. Or no, his third year. Yeah, his third year in the league, right?
I don't remember. It's either his third or his fourth.
Oh, I thought it was. I was hoping it was his third. Um, Alec Pierce is he just finished his. Oh my gosh! Apparently, Google doesn't know either. Um, I'm sure somebody in the chat will tell us, but yeah, I think it was his third year in the league. Yeah, he just finished his third year in the league. I think it's like a huge leap this year.
Yeah, a
He,
lot of
he
people gave up on him, and he came out and he was one of the bright spots most games on our offense.
yeah, I think he goes from, and it's not even like he didn't catch significantly more balls, right? He only caught 5 more balls this year than he did last year, but his yards per catch skyrocket, right? Yards per reception goes from 16 to 22. That's insane. Um, yeah, no, I think I'm sold. Like he showed me beyond, and he didn't only catch deep routes, right? He caught a lot of different balls this year.
Yeah,
I thought he definitely impressed me this year. So shout out to Alec Pierce, led the team in yards and touchdowns. It's awesome. You're gonna need him next year too, right? Um, that's a guy that you're gonna need to continue. If he could continue to stay and play at that level, and Adonai Mitchell, 80 man, come on, bro. Hook 'em horns, bro. You got to get that taken care of. You got to figure out what's going on. Again, I mean, Alec Pierce's first year kind of looked kind of like that, where I don't know, he's kind of like, well, we thought this guy was going to be good, and he's not really doing much of anything. Um, So it'd be interesting to see like how AD progresses this offseason because I do think he's going to take a step. Um, and I just NPJ to get healthy and see if he can get back to somewhat pre-back health issue form. I don't know if he ever will. I mean, back issues.
I think if MPJ gets healthy, AD takes a step, Pierce stays the same, we still have Downs. That's a solid wide receiver room.
It's a great wide receiver.
Yeah,
And they're all young.
Mm-hmm.
They're all young, right? So, yeah, I think this was a big season for Alec Pearson, and very happy that he's proving me wrong. Now, here's the thing, and I said this about MPJ last year. He did it once, awesome. That's great. We'll celebrate that. I need some consistency because that's what this team lacks. I need some consistency. There's only like 3 players on this roster that has ever done anything more than once. That's Jonathan Taylor, DeForest Buckner, and Kenny Moore, right? Everybody else is like maybe Julian Blackman, but Julian Blackman can't even stay healthy. So on a consistent basis. So that is the last thing we got. We'll wrap up with the comments here since the season's over. Will y'all be back on? Yes. I think we're gonna take we might do like 1 or 2 more episodes through the month of January, probably finish out the season. And obviously like something big comes up, we'll talk about it. And we're probably gonna take a break until the draft. Like the month of March, we'll probably take a break. And then we'll come back or like late March, early April and start draft coverage. But yes, we will continue to be here weekly between the end of basically draft season all the way through. And I think we're about to be back for our 4th or 5th year. So yeah, we will be here. So stay tuned. Follow us on all the channels, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and yeah, we will definitely be back. First balled out this year. Way to go to him. And to me, the only tight ends I'm keeping are Ogletree and Valley. I don't care. Honestly, I don't care about any of our tight ends. Do you?
Yeah, I mean, truly, keep them, don't keep them. It don't matter.
Doesn't matter
They ain't doing anything anyways.
Yeah, I'm so disappointed in Kylan Granson, man. I really thought that was a guy that's like, I'm not comparing him to Travis Kelce, but like what you saw in college and the skill set that he had that like Travis Kelce vibe, and not even the size. It was just the ability to like catch and run and create yards per yards after catch. Just doesn't pan out, man. Mallory's hurt all the time. Ogletree, I don't even know where he is half the time. I don't really see him on the field. Although he did catch a ball on Sunday. That was cool. Yeah, I don't care what we do with this tight end room, honestly. I'd be okay with scratching it and getting rid of everyone. Yeah. Well, Ellie Cox is another guy that lacks accountability. That dude's been here for like 15 years and hasn't done
it. He's actually a free agent too, so.
Oh, thank God. Please don't be silent. Please. So anyway, any final thoughts to wrap up the season, Austin? We'll get out of here. I said 30 minutes and we spent a whole hour together. We did good. I think we did great.
Yeah, I agree.
Any final thoughts?
Just hoping for change, awesome. Mid-season again.
Where can the people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at CookieAustin2.
Cool. And you can find me on Twitter at the Uncle Gandhi. I am going off on Chris Ballard and the Colts every day, trying to get on Pat McAfee's level. So please excuse me if I use explicitives because that is how I feel right now. But next week, hopefully, we'll have all the guys back on. Ryan back, Josh back. Of course, my name's Harish. That's my guy, Austin. We are out of here. Peace.
On 1 out snap, it's a fact that I'm unstoppable. Forget your defense, nothing but an obstacle. Run it back, switch it up.